actually. I mean, now is sort of the point where you have to ask, like, what is this? And, so that's the
How much of it do you think is ours?
Well, none of it's ours.
None of it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, clearly, the U.S. government is huge. It's the largest human organization. I think there are 2 million federal employees and another 10 million federal contractors, so who are effectively government employees but don't have civil service protection, for example. So that's 12 million people in a country of 340 million working for the federal government. So it's kind of hard to overstate how big the federal government is and how well funded. And so to say the government this, the government that, no, of course, it's people within the government. But yeah, they're working on all kinds of things, obviously, that are classified. But in general, no, they can't control these objects. So no, it's not American technology.
Well,
or Russian or Chinese. It predates, all of that.
Well, some of it does, right? Like for sure, the Kenneth Arnold sightings, that was really early on. That was like the early 1950s. He was seeing these flying saucers, these discs that were moving over mountains.
Well, right. I mean, the prophet Ezekiel writes about it in the first chapter, Wheels in the Sky.
Yeah, that's a crazy one. Boy, when you read
it is crazy. If you read it, it's like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
And
a wheel within a wheel.
Not just, the Hebrew scriptures, like it's all over every...
Mm-hmm. The Vedic texts.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
So these are spiritual phenomenon. There's no evidence they're from another planet. I mean, I think that's that's the lie, that they're from Mars. Look, space, the atmosphere is really well monitored, right? Both for defense reasons, but also because, like, it'd be nice to know when asteroids are coming. And there's no evidence, has never been any evidence that there are lots of these objects, these vehicles coming into our atmosphere from somewhere else, some other planet. There's no evidence of that at all. So they're from here, and they've been here for thousands of years, whatever they are. And it's pretty clear to me that they're spiritual entities, whatever that means. They're supernatural, and which is to say, supernatural means above the natural, above the observable nature. And they don't behave according to the laws of science as measured by people, and they've been here for a long time. And there's a ton of evidence they're under the ocean and under the ground. So, like, with that fact set, what do you conclude?
When did you start having this opinion that they were spiritual and that they've always been here? Like when did this?
Well, I didn't know anything about the topic until 2017. And
was that after the New York Times piece?
No, it was before. It was before, and the things that I saw. I mean, like, I was and am still a very conventional person. I mean, I'm 54. I grew up in this country in California, which was like every assumption about America I bought completely. And I thought that everyone who questioned those assumptions was bad. I just bought into the system completely without even thinking about it. And I imagined that I was like some kind of free thinker and, I'm going against the grain. But like my core assumptions were the assumptions fed to me by the culture and the government. And I didn't even realize it. But anyway, I'd never really thought about UFOs at all. And I'd been in journalism since I was a kid. So, of course, I'd run into a lot of people who had crazy views on a lot of different topics. UFOs, 9/11, circumcision, like every whack job in the world you run into when you're covering stuff.
Fluoride,
right. I just brushed with non-fluoride toothpaste this morning.
Yeah, me too.
Exactly. But probably unlike you, I didn't have any opinions like that. I was like, fluoride, come on. 9/11, shut up.
Yeah.
UFOs, you're fucking crazy. You know what I mean? I just I had this reflexive. I'm ashamed of it. I'm not bragging about it, but it was 2017, and really it was the Trump campaign. It wasn't that I was like so in love with Trump, though I've always liked Trump because he's like hilarious and charming and all that. But I wasn't like a Trumper or anything. But it was watching that campaign, and particularly his claim that they were spying on him, and I was like, really? They're not. The intel services and federal law enforcement, FBI, do not spy on presidential campaigns. Like, that's so out of the realm. That's so crazy. Like, that could never happen because, of course, there's no democracy in a system like that. And fundamentally, we're a democracy, an imperfect one. It kind of lumbers along, but, like, it's not fake. And then that turned out to be true. and I knew it was true. And that just blew my mind. So I began a process still ongoing of reassessing a lot of other things. Like, okay, well, if that was not true, what else is not true? And what else that they told me was a conspiracy theory might actually have some basis in fact. And then someone from, a DOD employee reached out to me and said, actually, there's a ton of evidence that this UFO thing is real. And really? And so I started doing segments on it when I worked at the TV channel. And there was like a lot of mockery, but I was like, I don't care. I'm just going to do this. And then, of course, the second you start, as you know better than anybody, you start talking about something, then people reach out to you, and some of them are deranged, but some of them aren't at all. So I just started getting a lot of information from people and meeting with people, mostly in private, come to my house, let's talk. And I decided on the basis of what they told me, and then I talked to a lot of people about it, that actually this is really a very heavy-duty question, actually. It's not the little green men question. It's like a much bigger question. And it's really bad. It's really dark. And then I stopped. Then I was like, I don't want to know anymore because it's not helping me at all as a person. And
what information did you get that made you feel like it's dark?
What's so dark? Well, first of all, the deception is always bad. Like lying is bad in it. And it's bad not just in a legal sense in that it can be illegal to lie, but it's bad. It's like bad for you. Like it rots you. Like being a liar makes you a bad person. When you lie, you are serving evil. There's a moral quality to it that's inescapable and very obvious, and only like advanced civilizations ignore that. Lying is bad. And so if you have lying at scale, which we have on this topic, it's inherently bad. Okay, so that's the first level. The deeper level is so if they're spiritual beings, which I believe they are, like it's a binary. They're either, you're on team good or team bad. You can assign any name to it you want, but like, what are these things? Are they good or bad? And I think some of them are bad. And if the U.S. government knows that, or elements, the people within the U.S. government know that, then they're serving a bad force. And
well, when you say spiritual, like what makes you draw that conclusion that they're spiritual?
What's the obvious? I mean, spiritual may be the wrong word. Supernatural. They're beyond nature as we understand it. I mean, obviously they are. I mean, just chart their physical behavior. It doesn't, it goes outside of what we understand about physics. No visible means of propulsion, coming at indescribable speed, hitting the ocean, continuing at speeds that are impossible undersea. I mean, in other words, if I take a 9mm round or 7.62 by 39 and shoot you at 50 yards underwater in a swimming pool, and it's even more intense in salt water because it's denser, you could catch the bullet if it even makes it to you, right? So if you have a craft, any object underwater that's traveling at 500 knots as measured by sonar, right there you're challenging our understanding of physics. Like, what is that? How can that be? So yeah,
they've tracked that. They've tracked things going 500 knots under the sea.
Yeah, really. Yeah, much faster than any object can actually go undersea. Yo, for sure. Oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on underwater, and a lot. And there's video of these things coming out of the sky into the water and also emerging from the water.
Right.
Yeah. So
it's all so blurry, though.
I don't think it's
the
that
transmedium video.
Yeah, I don't think some of it's that blurry. I think some of it's crystal clear.
We just don't have access to it. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Just we haven't seen it.
Correct.
So they have some stuff
for sure. So, but there's just a lot going on underwater, and it's measured. And so, whatever. I mean, these are all, again, this is like the most obvious observable level of it. But then you just ask yourself, like, what is this actually? And, if there's been extensive knowledge of this for decades, like maybe 80 years at least, if not going back to the 30s, 90 years, to what end? So there are two possible explanations, obvious explanations. The first is the one you often hear, which is this is so heavy that if the public were to know about it, it would be just disruptive. It would be too scary. Like, you don't want to scare people for no good reason. There's nothing we can do about it. And you also don't want to suggest that, the U.S. military isn't capable of protecting the country, the homeland. And it does suggest that. If you can't control these objects in your airspace, and that's known, if they can't, that's known, okay? then that suggests a limit to the power of the U.S. military, and you don't want to tell people that because then they won't believe that they're safe. I get it. But then there's a deeper level, which is okay, what's your relationship with these things? What is the U.S. government's relationship with these things? And there's evidence that there is a relationship and that it's longstanding. And that raises a lot of questions about intent. And so what is that? And I just personally decided, and people have been hurt by these things. That's a fact. That's a fact. It's a knowable fact. It's a provable fact. And killed. And I'm not saying millions of people have been killed by whatever these things are, but people have been killed, and it's known because it's working its way through the courts out of the VA. So I don't know, an object that is by definition supernatural, it's above the laws of nature as we understand them, and that has resulted in the deaths of people. We don't spend enough time thinking about what that adds up to. Not good, actually, not good.
How many people do you think have died from these things?
I don't know, but I mean,
And is it radiation sickness? Is it what's the
so
cause
the person
of
that
death?
I talked to, I interviewed someone who was a Stanford medical school professor who's out there and worth talking to, by the way. And
You talking about Gary Nolan?
that's exactly who I'm talking about. He was effectively an expert witness in these cases, so he's an expert in brain injury. Do you know him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Entirely credible person. Checks all the boxes that I care about. He's got patents, so he's like a lot of Stanford University professors. He's independently rich. I mean, he flew to. I live in a remote place, and he flew to my place at his own expense because he wanted to tell his story. So he's got no profit motive here. He's the most highly credentialed person at the university, practically, at Stanford Medical School. We consider that a big deal. And he's worked on this for over 10 years. Assessing the injuries to U.S. servicemen from being in close proximity to these objects or having contact with these objects. And his conclusion, as you know because you've talked to him, is that there's some kind of energy coming off here that scrambles people's brains or kills them. And it's not exactly radiation, at least in his telling to me. So anyway, but the point is people have died.
Yeah.
And so, it does raise a lot of questions about what the hell, right? What the hell? American citizens have died and you're hiding it? Why are you hiding that? Why would you hide that?
Perhaps because they don't have any explanations. Because it's so beyond our comprehension that they're still trying to piece it together. I would wonder how much interaction they really do have with these things. If I was from another planet or if I was some interdimensional being, I don't know how much I'd give a shit about the president. I don't know how much I'd give a shit about the government. I would probably look at this infantile race, this species, this bizarre territorial apes with thermonuclear weapons, this very weird species. I'd probably look at them as very chaotic, and I wouldn't really have much concern for who's running it. Especially if they have the ability to travel at insane speeds and go undetected. And
well, it depends. Okay, so the template that you're using to understand this is science fiction, right? These are an advanced race of beings from somewhere else. But the template that every other society before us has used is a spiritual one. Mm-hmm. There is a whole world that we can't see that acts on people, a supernatural world that's acting on us all the time for good and bad. Every society has thought this before ours. In fact, every society in all recorded history has thought that until, I'll be specific, August 1945 when we dropped the atom bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And all of a sudden, the West is just officially secular. We're God. There is no God but us. And that's the world that we have grown up in. But that's an anomaly. No one else has ever thought that. There's never been a society that thought that. Every other society has assumed, and they've had all kinds of different explanations, and the details differ. But the core idea does not differ, never has differed from caves until now, that we're being acted on by spiritual forces at all times. And so to someone born before or living before 1945, I think it would have been much more obvious that this is the thing that every society has written about. And in fact, that battle that unseen battle around us, that spiritual battle, has like been the basis of every society, of every religion, not just Christianity. So, like, it just, once you discard your very, very recent assumptions, relatively speaking, about how the world works, you're like, well, that kind of seems like the obvious explanation, right?
You know, Herbert Walker was the guy that Hal Puthoff and a bunch of these scientists, he brought them together and said, we have recovered a crashed UFO on more than one occasion, and we have a back engineering program, and we're considering disclosure to the American people. I want you to list the positives, the positive impact of society, and the negatives.
Yeah.
And they did it with quite a few different scientists, and they all had more negatives than positive.
If they came out with this information,
Exactly.
to share this information, what would be
Exactly.
the effect on society?
Yes.
More
And
negatives than positives.
More negatives than positives.
Because?
Disruption of religion,
Okay.
government,
How does
economy.
that disrupt religion?
Well, I mean, it
I
depends on your
understand how it
religion.
does. I just don't.
Depends on your religion, you know, and depends on where these things are from and what is happening. What do we
In
know?
the Bible, Ezekiel has golden chariots from the sky.
Exactly. Yeah, and a wheel within a wheel. Yeah, the Ezekiel stuff sounds like a UFO encounter. And it's not the only version of that in ancient texts. In the ancient Hindu texts, they have vimanas, these things that are flying through the sky. Like, what are those things? You know, in the Rig Veda, even in the Bhagavad Gita, there's all these depictions of these things that sound like you're talking about a spaceship or at the very least some kind of technology. Like this thing about the Nephilim, like that the gods mated with women and created men who are monstrous. Boy, doesn't that sound like aliens came down and genetically manipulated primates and created human beings? That's a version of it that you could imply from the text. It's all really weird stuff, man. Like really weird. If you found out that was all true, it would probably change everything about society. And this is what Herbert Walker and those guys decided after. So Hal Puthoff was explaining it to me on the podcast, like how they put a numerical value to each thing. I'm like, like we were that close?
Right.
Like imagine if that happened. This is 1990, right?
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but these kind of really weird things, as you put them, they excite you more than they give you fear. Would that be fair?
Yeah. I mean,
you seem excited. You get excited about different possibilities.
yes.
I mean, you know, I have people go, oh, man, no, Rogan loves these conspiracy theories. Like, I don't see him liking the conspiracy theories. I see him always being interested in an alternate way something went down and being interested and excited about that, but not going, no, never disengaging from it and going, no way, no, because I believe how it was and what I read, and that's how it is. That's not where you're moving from.
No, it's never a denial of information and facts. And it's also a recognition that oftentimes a large swath of society just goes with a narrative without having any real understanding of what the actual facts behind it are. And then there's that term, this pejorative term, conspiracy theory. The problem with that, calling someone a conspiracy theorist, is conspiracies are real. Like, there's a lot of evidence. And if you want to sit down, I could fucking show you a ton of them. And so anybody who says, like, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, I'm like, okay, let's talk about conspiracies. Like, do you think that any of them exist? Do you think that people conspire? Is it like it's a natural part of human behavior that's been documented throughout history, even in governments? I mean,
Sure.
Literally, the thing that got us into the Vietnam War was a conspiracy. It was fake. The Gulf of Tonkin, it was a false flag operation. It never took place at all. They lied to the American people. That's a conspiracy. Like, that's just one conspiracy that turns out to be true. There's a lot of them. The problem is people don't want to look like a conspiracy theorist. They've done such a good job of making it a goofy term that you don't ever want attached to you. It can cause damage to your reputation.
Yeah.
If you're in a job where people have to take you seriously, fortunately I'm not, but if you're in a job where people have to take you seriously, you don't want to say anything weird like, hey, I think aliens are real. Like, people think you're a kook, and then they discount your opinion on everything.
Yeah.
But if you just know the actual facts, Like people that don't think there's anything that aliens are real. There's no way. We're alone. We've never been contacted.
Why not?
Gary Nolan, the
my
guy who was
question.
on here yesterday that was talking about cancer research, he was also telling us about a piece of wreckage they found from a craft. Was it 1950 that they found it?
Which one?
The first one, the Silica one? So they have direct chain of possession of this evidence from, I believe it was 1950. And it was almost pure silica. And the magnesium ratios were so off that he said that this magnesium had to have been, it had to have been sourced from a place that experienced a neutron bomb every 2 minutes for 900 years. That's how off the isotopes were to magnesium that we find here on Earth. He's like, I'm not saying it's impossible for someone to ever do that, but I'm saying this is from 1950. Like, this is a real piece of what they're saying is a wreckage of a craft. And it has a material composition that is impossible for a normal person to create in 1950. So what the fuck is this?
Right.
And you say that to people, and they're like, "Oh, so Gary Nolan, who's a professor at Stanford, he's a professor in the what is his forensics? Is that what his he does cancer research? But what is his actual title? Stanford School of Medicine professor. Anyway, rock solid credentials, published." And people brought him this material, and they said, would you analyze this? Because you know all these different scientists. And endowed chair, Department of Pathology, Stanford School of Medicine. So when a guy like that is saying, no, this is a composition of this piece of wreckage that you can't make here.
Right.
They found a type of alloy that doesn't exist on Earth, and it has on an atomic level layers upon layers of whatever this alloy is. He's like, this cost billions of dollars to create, and they found it in 1970. Like in 1970, no one had this. It's not possible to make. Like maybe you can make it today, but we don't have the equipment to make it today. You could conceive how someone with enough resources could have that money today to do something like that, but it would be an enormous undertaking.
Yeah.
And this is a piece of craft that someone found from 1976. So when a guy like that is telling you, like, I'm not saying what it is, I'm not saying where it's from, but I'm saying this is fucking crazy.
Yeah, it doesn't add up to what we could practically do.
So when someone says conspiracies, like, and that's one of the weirder things. Like, so first we should get into what you do, because you have a very interesting theory. Tell everybody what your background is, first of all.
Yeah, all right. That does seem like a good place to start. My background is in anthropology, biological anthropology. My research mostly focuses on evolutionary anatomy, biomedicine. I've done some archaeology, various places around the world in Montana. But the reason I'm here, I assume, because according to my friend Matt, we were butchering a mule deer, I think I shot. And I was like, yeah, I got to go to this conference. And I was like, do you want to know what it's about? Nobody gives a shit about what you do other than UFOs, man. I was like, damn it, he's right. Like, I did actually used to do a lot of what I thought was cool stuff. But no, the main thing is that I've been known for advocating for this idea that UFOs and the aliens are actually our time-traveling human descendants. I wouldn't even as opposed to extraterrestrials, because I do think that's a component too. I oftentimes get pigeonholed. People are like, oh, you just think they're all time travelers. I actually say this all the time, but it doesn't matter. I do think there's going on. But my background and the reason I approach this question this way is because there's a lot of characteristics of these aliens look so hominin. They look just like us. And specifically what we'd expect to see in our hominin future if the same evolution trends continue into the future. So I kind of just tie those things together. And even the saucer-shaped craft seemingly are time machines themselves. That's kind of the Cliff Notes version.
It's a theory that a lot of people have independently sort of come to, right?
Yeah, especially recently.
And the concept of, well, if you just think about ancient man. I was watching this documentary on Neanderthals last night about this one intact Neanderthal skeleton that they found that was, it had sort of been, he had died in a cave, and there's stalagmites. Is stalactites or mites? How do you say it?
Tights are up, mites are down.
So he was essentially mineralized.
Mm-hmm.
There was stuff all over the body, and it took a long time for them to break this body.
I think I saw that. Was that on Netflix?
No, I was watching it on YouTube. Maybe originally it was on Netflix, but it was just documenting how strange this body was that they had found. But it was immensely strong, like much stronger than us. One of the interesting things was that their visual cortex, the part of the brain that would process imagery, was larger than ours, 10 to 20% larger.
Yeah.
And that so these things probably had better eyesight than us, perhaps even were able to see at night. And that this was a bigger, stronger version of a human being, like much more durable than what we are, modern 2025 Homo sapiens.
Yep.
If you just look, that's it. So that's one of them.
Cool.
Neither human nor Neanderthal.
Oh, really?
This is published in
Is this the
August.
same? This might not be the same one. This is maybe a different one. That's a weird one because what's that fucking thing on its head?
That's what it says. It's a stalactite growing out of it or something.
Wow. In a weird form. Weird.
Yeah, it's like a unicorn.
Yeah, like a
So
crest.
They do have a sagittal ridge.
Yes.
Homo erectus had one. There's an offshoot in our hominid lineage called the Paranthropus or robust Australopithecines, and they had a full-on like gorilla style sagittal ridge. Yeah, because they were vegetarians, so they just chewed all day.
Right, so they have muscles to chew.
Yeah, their face is huge.
Wow.
Neanderthals kind of, I mean, they were just big. It's just a robusticity thing, but there is evidence from Shanidar Cave in Iraq where they were using their teeth as tools. We think they were like tanning hides. They were holding the hide in their mouth and then like scraping all the nasty bits off.
Oh.
And you can see that in the tooth wear. So yeah, they were pretty badass. They were the first. I don't know. I think this is cool, but a lot of people think I'm a nerd too. They were the first to use the flake. Like for 0.8 million years, we just hit a piece of rock and we're like, oh, this is a cool tool. But then they figured out that if you hit the rock in just the right way, the piece that falls off makes an even better tool. It took us 0.5.
this.
Exactly.
You make an arrowhead.
And I got to work at a place called Chez Pinot Jonzac in southern France for a summer, and it was a Neanderthal site. And we found, actually it's pretty funny because when we first got there, these tools called MTA hand axes, Musterian, it was Schulian tradition hand axes, 8 found in all of Europe. And they said, if you guys find one of these, we'll buy you all the beer and all the cognac you can drink. So we're in the cognac region of France. And we found one like the 4th or 5th day. We went on to find 7 more over the course of that week. We did a number of these things in existence
Wow.
in all of Europe. And they were not lying. They bought us so many damn beers. Like archaeologists like to drink. You know,
I'm sure.
we dig and it's boring. So, you know,
Yeah.
it's not Indiana Jones. We're not running around banging hot chicks and flying on planes. We're like, we got a spoon and we're doing this for 8 hours. So, yeah, I actually found the last one on the last day and it was by far the worst one. Like I had to argue that it should even count as one of these. But yeah, no, it was a cool site. So yeah, they were doing well, but we were doing better. We came in and replaced them.
Something happened where we replaced them.
Yeah.
But the point is, as time goes on, humans today are probably the most feeble version of humans that have ever existed.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And we're the most feeble versions of people that have existed within the last century, right? Like if you go back to humans from the 1920s versus humans from the 2020s, people have way less testosterone now, way higher instances of miscarriages, way lower sperm count. You know, there's a lot of factors that are at play right now that are changing what a human is. And if you extrapolate, if you look at the future, you would naturally say, well, we're probably going to be very thin. It seems like there's at least some sort of a push to eliminate gender. Like gender seems like it's on the table as whether or not it's even necessary. There's all sorts of new technological innovations that are leading to the possibility, at least sometime in the future, of an artificial womb. There's genetic engineering with CRISPR and a lot of other different technologies that are being explored that we might be able to engineer human beings and then even create a complete individual human being without a mother, without a father. So if you thought about what that looks like in the future, like one of our problems on this planet is we all have different ideologies, different religions, come from different parts of the world. We look different. And human beings, as tribal primates, have a tendency to other. We other different tribes. Those are not us. We are us. Those are the enemy. We go out.
You
but
rally.
exactly the same, and we share one mind, then a lot of our problems go away.
Yeah.
If we no longer have to compete for resources, we no longer have the desire to procreate and to acquire land and to be, to have a territory, we eliminate a lot of our issues. And that's what these things look like. When you look at the archetypal, these iconic sort of shapes that have been on cave walls all the way up to Close Encounters of the Third Kind, one thing they share is that they have no muscle, they have large heads, they have big eyes.
And they're very pacific, as we say. Yeah, you just tied together like a lot of really important points related to this theory. Aspects of why they're always interested in our game, why they come back and put that little machine on a man to collect semen. They're constantly taking eggs from females and implanting fetuses, pulling them back out later. Like, they're clearly focused on reproduction, gamete extraction, and one of the things that might be fueling that in the future, if these are future humans, let's just assume for a second, hypothetically, is that they might be having problems directly resulting from these trends toward self-domestication, these trends toward feminization, these trends toward reduced sperm counts, which is 60% across most populations of the world, in the industrialized world, 50% across the entire world. Problems with reproduction, fertilization, exogenesis chambers might help solve some of those problems, growing the fetus outside of the body. So yeah, and like you said, what do they look like? They look like kind of a hybrid between males and males to some extent, but there's still an essence of gender. Like, if you talk to Whitley Strieber, he's with this being, he says in Communion that I had a sense that she was a woman. I don't know why, but I kind of sensed that. It's almost like the essence of the individual, the soul of the individual still retains that sort of gender identity, even though our bodies are more childlike, more gender indiscriminate. I don't know. But yeah, yet another one of those ways in which we might sort of grow together as a species.
When you say they are extracting sperm, like, how many of these stories do you take seriously? There's a lot of these stories.
It's a great question, yeah.
There's unfortunately, for any sort of spectacular public thing that's in the zeitgeist, like alien abduction, whether it's Whitley Strieber from Communion or the John Mack books, the guy from Harvard that wrote, what was it, Abduction?
Past the Cosmos and Abduction, yeah. Two great books.
Great books, but these are all books about encounters, close encounters of the third kind with some sort of a being from another place. Whatever it is, it's just not a human being, and it seems to be technologically, at least, superior to us. And it seems to be one thing they all seem to share is they seem to be able to communicate telekinetically or telepathically.
Yeah, and I mean, they aren't human, but they are very human too. So, for instance, like that's one of the main reasons I started exploring this. I was actually kind of put into this when I was 8 years old, sort of activated in a way and put on this path by a weird thing that happened to me when I was a kid.
What happened to you?
Well, so I talk about it in my first 2 books, Identified Flying Objects and the Extraterrestrial Model, where I learned about this encounter that my dad had. He was a veterinarian in Northeast Ohio, where I grew up, and he was out one night on a call another guy. So there's 2 people. As far as Jalen Hynek's reliability scale, it has more reliability because there's multiple witnesses. It's also strange on his hill because they crested the hill. There's a bright light. This is an Amish country. There's no lights in Amish country. And all of a sudden, this bright light darts toward them, hovers just above their truck, darts back to where it was, and straight up into space, like at incredible speed. So this happened before I was born, but I overheard him telling this story to some friend one night. He got Whitley Strieber's book Communion, as most people did in the 1980s, and as they should, because it's a great book. And I walked into the living room. The book is sitting on the shelf facing out. And I remember, like it was yesterday, I sort of stopped, and there was like this light, like a white light. And then I saw this image in my mind of like an early hominin, chimpanzee, like or a modern human, and then that archetypal gray alien from the cover with this information. What if they're related? What if they are us future? And obviously, I mean, that's why I became a biological anthropologist. People are always like,
So you saw this?
yeah, it was like a flash, like a light. And, that's looking back on it because I know a lot more about these experiences. I've talked to people of these types of experiences.
What was this thing?
It was our living. So it was like you come in the front door and just to the left, there's this living room, built-in bookshelf, Whitley's books right there. I just turned the corner, saw it, and then like whoosh, just kind of, it just came. Like I didn't know shit about evolutionary biology.
When
I
you
didn't
say
know
you
about
saw
your
it-
mind. Just this white light
Just an-
image of the three faces, and then the question, could they be us from the future? And a lot of people are like, how'd you get into UFO? Like, you're a biological anthropologist. It's the opposite. I got into biology to research this question of whether they could be us from the future.
Huh. So this you felt like at that moment it wasn't just like a weird thought or a dream. It felt like a message. Like, what did it feel like?
Yeah, it was a tasking. I think Rupert Sheldrake said it that people don't have ideas. Ideas have people. I think that was like this thing, and I did. That's why we're here now talking about it. And obviously, you got to be careful about like selection bias and confirmation bias. Like I didn't go into this. I didn't go into grad school. I also didn't tell anybody in grad school I was this. They would have kicked me out. But I went into an open mind, but I was there to study these things because of that event when I was 8 years old.
Wow. Yeah, it is a problem, the confirmation bias. It is a problem with wanting it to be real. And I struggle with that because I desperately want it to be real. And so every time I talk to someone, I've talked to a bunch of people that are, air quote, whistleblowers. And some of them, I think, for sure, have been sent in here to distribute disinformation.
Yeah, no doubt.
For sure, because great place to do it.
Yeah.
I'll listen to you.
Yeah.
I'll entertain almost anything.
But yeah, I mean, obviously there's people that are going to take advantage of it.
But
too.
I think it's important for me to say I'm not convinced. I don't know how much of this is horseshit, but it's not zero.
I was stationed.
Is just your credibility and the fact that this is not, you don't have a history of seeing wacky shit that other people don't see.
No, just this one.
But it's on video, and that there's other ones as well. It's really strange. And I've seen people try to explain it away, and what I don't like about when they explain it away or attempt to explain it away is that they're trying really hard. They're not going, who knows what this fucking thing is? They're not looking at it like cleanly. They're looking at it like a quote-unquote skeptic. I don't like the idea of being a skeptic. Not that I don't think you should be skeptical of certain things. I certainly think you should be. But there's a lot of people that brand themselves as skeptics. And I think it's a lazy way to look at things. I really do. Because I think you're just looking for the holes in things without looking at it objectively. If you wanted to be a scientist, if you wanted to be someone who is a fan of science, then you have to look at it as a thing. Like, look at this information and let's study this without any bias, any preconceived notions. I don't think they're doing that. They're looking at it and they're trying to find a way where they can justify that it's fake. And they're just doing all sorts of mental gymnastics to try to make it fake. That video that you show where that thing slips off to the left and takes off at incredible rates of speed, that alone should freak people the fuck out.
Yeah, because people confuse all the time. Like, we took the video. No, it was another crew that took it. We watched it for 5 minutes with our eyeballs. And there was 4 of us. And we all have the same story. We all saw the same stuff. We all came back and looked at each other and scratched our head and said, WTF, serious? What was that? And then what do? You move on. We never saw it again. I imagine they probably saw him on radar after that, but I think
they're probably seeing radar all the time. They just don't bring it to the attention of the general public.
Oh, yeah, because if you don't, for a ship, when they see something and, you go, what is that? Well,
Right.
you don't have any out there and look at it.
Like when you're talking about they were informing you that they were seeing these things previous to your mission. When you're doing this exercise and they let you know that they're seeing these things, did you say, hey, how frequent is this? Is this something that happens all the time?
I didn't get ours was more of the moment of, when he's telling us, hey, for the last 2 weeks we've been doing these things.
Right.
And we don't know what they are.
But you don't know whether or not it was just those 2 weeks or maybe it was a year ago. There was other similar situations or...
There's other situations that have happened out there, but I would say, for this, I don't even know. One, you got to take it.
Yeah.
We have a tendency, if we don't know what it is, if we just ignore it, it'll go away. You know, and I joke, you know, there was an incident it's probably not too far off the same time frame, but I think it was like the installation was doing her workups before she got decommissioned. An Oscar-class, a Soviet Oscar-class submarine surfaced behind her, right? And then it's like, go to battle stations, World War III. How did this foreign submarine get in our area and has been monitoring our workups? That's a big deal. I said, but now we go out and we have these things that are coming at will, and there's nothing we can do about it. We don't know what they are. We have confirmed sighting by 2 aircrew, 4 of us, planes, that said, look, this is not an airplane. This is not a weather balloon. This is not a blip. It has performance well beyond, you know, and the airplanes that we were flying at the time were literally brand new Supers right out of the Boeing factory. I mean, these were brand new, first Block 2 series that came out. And you go, why wasn't something done? You know, it's like, we don't know what it is. I think it's good now, you know, the moves that have happened over the last, you know, 2 years. The original article came out that, you know, now there's a new reporting for the pilots. The Navy's acknowledged, hey, these things, we don't know what they were. You know, they're starting to take it serious because, you know, I know there are other events that are not out, recent events where people have been called in to go, hey, I've seen this thing. So the investigation process is going on. You know, we don't stop. In the military, even if you take funding away, we don't stop. You know, we don't stop until we're stopped. So, you know, what's going on? You know, you go, well, ATIP ended. You know, they spent $4.5 million a year on it. I think it was $22 million over the 5 years. So you go, what are they doing since then? Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure there's still people at this, and there's still people that are taking this serious. I will tell you that I won't get into specifics, but there are people inside the United States government taking this serious. And I've been down to D.C. twice to talk to folks, you know, behind closed doors to go, I want to hear the story. And I've got a lot of, you got to be joking. I mean, this seriously happened. And I'm like, yeah, it did happen. It is real. You know, what are you doing about it?
So what kind of people are you talking to?
High-level government officials is what I'll say. And most of that is because that conversation is between me and them, and I don't want people spending, but you can say high-level government officials I have talked.
Well, that was always the speculation about, like, what would someone do if they became president? Well, the first thing I would do is I would tell everybody about the UFOs. I would ask immediately what's going on. And I always thought about it. I said, how many people actually know what's going on? And how much of the information? I mean, it's not like if they're dealing with something like this, like your experience, it seems like what you described is what is known. So it's this anomalous event where this thing defies our current understanding of technology, and then it's gone.
Yes.
And so what do you have? You don't have anything else other than that. Like, what other information does anybody have?
Well, I would say this because I've talked to Bob. We did a
Bob Lazar.
Yeah, we did an event together, and I'll leave it to everyone it's up to you to believe Bob. I'll say this: Bob's a normal guy. Bob's not crazy.
He's not crazy at all.
Not at all.
That was the greatest thing about talking to him.
But when you look at it and go, because I had asked Bob, what he describes in the technology when he talks about his story, I said, well, do you honestly think we could, reverse engineer it? I said, how long do you think it would take us? His response to me was another 100 years. He goes, Dave, it was far beyond. He goes, the stuff that he says he worked on. He's like, he was on your podcast because I watched it. Hey, there was no wires, and because I had asked him when he said you first described the ship I got to see, he said, I used to say, they built it and then it was like wax and you'd heat it up. He goes, now I would say it was built with 3D printing because now with 3D printing we can build things literally from the ground up, and it's basically built as one, not panels, no rivets. It's just made. Right. And so when you talk about that and you go, well, it's still another 100 years. So you go, well, what if you had the technology? We still, if what Bob says is correct, we still don't understand it. And how fast would it take to understand that? I mean, if it's driven by something that we don't even Earth, which is when he talks about that element, we can't create it. We can create it for a microsecond, and then it decays, and we go,
element
okay,
115.
Yeah. So, I think we're still a long ways off. I'll argue with the people that go, are we really alone? On Jeremy, we used to go out on goggles. Out in the middle of the Pacific, there's no light pollution.
Goggles?
Night vision goggles, so we can see. Well, you go out at night, I'd be on like a tanker hop or something just hanging out. not doing anything, driving around with the autopilot on. You just turn all the lights down in the cockpit so you have no light pollution, and you roll your head back and look up. There's billions and billions and billions of stars out there. And, I always look up because I'm like, are we alone? And I look up, well, if we're the only ones around, and I'm looking, everything I'm looking, it's a pretty sad place. It's a pretty lonely universe. I asked my astroprof that once. I said, you believe in extraterrestrial life? And she's like, of course not. And I said, well, there's billions and billions of planets. You think we're it? I mean, just the probability of it, you'd go, oh, there's probably something else out there. And I'm not crazy. I'm just opening the possibility that we are not the only planet that has life on it.
I think people don't like to seem silly. They don't like to be foolish. And I think when people start talking about anything that's not proven or anything that's connected to a bunch of loony people that are making up stories, which UFOs certainly are.
Yes.
UFOs are connected to so many people that have made up so many stories. What was that gentleman's name from, you would know that guy. He was from another country, Billy something or another.
Oh, Billy Meyer.
Billy Meyer.
Myers, yeah.
Seems 100% full of shit.
Yeah,
correct?
yeah. He's proven
Yeah.
to have done tons of hoaxes with this, but here's the deal. Sometimes I think people have a real experience, and they're always like chasing that dragon, and they get UFO disease, and their brain goes fucking berserk, right? I know that there are people that have had profound experiences, and then they can't ever replicate them, so then they just start going crazy. And I don't blame them for it. But you got someone like Commander Fravor, when he saw that AAV, anomalous aerospace vehicle, his reaction was, I want to fly it. That's a pretty cool reaction. I'd like to fly it.
Yeah, imagine flying that thing.
Well, that's what my buddy, who was my XO at the time, Dell, I got back, that's happening. He looks at me, and we're just standing in the ready room, and he goes, hey, dude. I go, what? He goes, what do you think it is? I go, I have no idea, but it was pretty freaking impressive, and I'd like to fly it.
Of course.
And he goes, yeah. I go, I mean, it was, it's just like any pilot. You always want to fool this thing.
Of course. Yeah, of course. You're a driver. You want to drive the fastest car.
That's it. And
Yeah.
you look at it and go, well, that's something we don't have.
Yeah.
This idea, maybe we're not alone, that some of these other stars have planets that are maybe technologically advanced. So the next thing people say, and, new eras are going to say, well, they're not coming here because the distance is so vast. Hold the fuck up. From the very beginning, when Bob Lazar came forward and talked about field propulsion, gravity propulsion, distance becomes completely irrelevant. So if we believe, and the radars are right, and Commander Fravor saw this thing moving like a ping pong ball in a glass of water, it's gravity propelled, that's why you can make those maneuvers without exploding, okay? Then distance becomes completely irrelevant for travel. You're literally warping time and space. You're falling into place.
Well, it's like the idea of showing someone a video on your phone long before video was ever invented. People would be like, what are you talking about? Like before photography was invented, which is shockingly recent, right? You had to draw pictures of things you saw. Just like those people that drew or painted those images of those men and whatever those things were with Christ in the background. The idea that we could understand what some insanely impressive technology from a planet that is nowhere near us could manifest. It's nuts.
Yeah. Bob Lazar talks a lot about this. Remember, he's a young guy, right? In 1989, he gets shown something, and all of a sudden he's trying to interpret it through 1989 technology. So he said it looks like it was injection molded because that's what he had. And then
Right.
I sent him this thing about nanotechnology and working towards an atomic printer. He's like, dude, that makes a lot more sense. So he has to view it through where he saw it in 1989. However, I will say this: it is my knowledge that we understand exactly how these craft work. Our one limiting factor is our material science. We can't replicate, not the fuel source itself is another.
When you say we know exactly how they work.
Yeah,
what do you
it
mean?
doesn't our laws of physics, this concept of amplification of gravity, this concept of gravity propulsion. We understand how things can move from point A to point B almost instantaneously. Our physics doesn't disallow it, but our material science and the fuel to create that machine that we have machines from other places. So we have.
What do you mean?
Well, Bob Lazar, whether you believe him or not, there was a program. I have other witnesses that I will be bringing forward about S4, where he worked. We have craft.
You have other witnesses that worked with alongside
No, people
Bob?
that operate Bob's account, in that they saw him get on and off the red and whites, the Janet flights that come on. Somebody that went to Papoose Lake and was stopped by non-military guards at that time. People that were aware of Site 4 and ET exploitation projects. One is an SR-71 pilot that I've been talking with for a couple years. So these people are coming forward now, and it's like I'm sick and tired of doing it. These little nitpicky things about Bob. Okay, there was a program. There was a back engineering program. They've admitted there are materials. So this is like the metamaterials you heard about in the New York Times, all that. We have materials associated with UFOs that are interesting.
What is that talking about?
So this was something that was launched in the first New York Times article, I believe, in December of 2017, that there is studies being done right now on materials associated with UFOs, right? So actual metals that have come off of, you could say, crashes or
Now, who is that explained that there was something, they were with Eric Weinstein, that was explaining that there was someone who reportedly has something along those lines?
Jacques Vallée has 17 samples.
17 samples. How
Yeah.
does one 17 samples?
Well, Jacques fucking Vallée, right? So he's the guy first ever for the United States military created a computer program for the study of UFOs for Project Blue Book. So he's an old school guy. They modeled him after in the Close Encounters movie. It's modeled after Jacques Vallée, the French guy. So he's kind of like been involved with this. He's had more access to government databases than any of us. He went around, collected samples from known, crashes or like when things will come off.
And what's the conclusion?
Well, they're studying them right now. There was just something on Fox about it. They're studying some of these materials and what they will find, because the ones they're talking about, I actually took to New Mexico and had 5 scientists study it about 5 years ago. I got my hands on it, got to study it. The famous parts they're talking about now. It's layered. And the way it's layered is what they're trying to see if it's anomalous elementally, or the way that the elements are bound together, and also the atomic level of layering is what's interesting. We'll find out if it's
explain what you're talking about. What is this thing that you saw?
Okay, well, there are a lot of different samples, but when you get a sample of something and you can see
how big are these samples?
The ones that I looked at,
Yes.
they ranged from about this size down.
Audio.
They ranged from the size
of an orange.
Yeah, size of an orange to the size of a quarter. These are materials, right?
And are they materials from ash?
So that's allegedly, or there's a known crash. This is in the public domain rather than government controlled. So what I was looking at, or having the scientists look at, is isotopically and elementally. What are the elements that are in this? Are they engineered?
And what's the conclusion?
Well, I'm not. I'm going to leave it to the people that are doing it now, who have much better machines than I had access
Do you know
to.
any cliff notes?
Yeah, from what I understand, there's atomic layering. There are levels of, like we do with graphene. We lay down these layers that are basically oriented at a certain degree. That's how you get a superconductor or something like that. If you take a piece of graphene and it's highly machined, so doesn't deviate from that atomic layering, you can push it right through ice like a hot knife through butter. It's the weirdest feeling in the world, because you just take this piece of what feels like graphene and it just goes right through butter, because it's a superconductor, and the heat from your hand melts the ice. So that is a metamaterial. It doesn't occur naturally. Humans created it, and it has special properties because of the way it's atomically layered. So if these materials are from somewhere else, then we suspect that they're going to be highly machined, that they're going to be created for special use. So my whole point is, our material science has not caught up with the physics that we understand for these field propulsion systems. I'm just telling you, believe me or not, but you'll hear more about it, that our material science in 1989 and today is our limiting factor. And as our material science gets better as humans, we know how these things work. Now, the fuel source, that's a whole nother conversation.
He's like, you want to see the UFO? Can you keep a secret? Yeah, there he is, hanging out with Nixon. And they supposedly do have something that crashed, and they supposedly do have biological entities that are on ice somewhere. This is according to these whistleblowers that work for the government, and now we're talking about it. I just don't know what's real. It's hard to know. And you talk about it, you feel like a moron, because it's like...
There's got to be something out there. Okay, we got to assume there's something out there. Whether or not, I don't even know.
Right, but should we assume that something's been here?
Yeah,
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 I think so.
yeah, they've been here.
Well, I would come here if I was from somewhere else, and I was like, imagine if you're like from some super advanced civilization that's completely abandoned war. There's no thievery. Everybody reads everybody's minds. There's no unfairness because they've worked all that stuff out. And it's just superior intellect because everybody's evolved for 1,000,000 years past where we are now. And you get the opportunity to see what a breakthrough civilization looks like, right when they're figuring out nuclear power, right when they're figuring out flight and war and cell phones and shit like that. Like, that would be like you and I going back and going and visiting the real Wild West. Like being in a gold mining town in 1830. You know how nuts that would be? You know how fucking crazy. Be one of the minor 49ers in 1849, going all the way to San Francisco, and these fucking animals stabbing each other in saloons. Like, you know what that would be like?
That's insane.
The kind of barbarians that took a chance with wooden wheels getting pulled by a horse and went across mountain ranges to try to get to the gold. That would be like us going to visit that. Of course we would visit that. Of course. Like, if you had a chance to see what it would like to see Christopher Columbus land in the Bahamas, to see what that must have been like, of course you would want to see it. If you could go literally back in time and see primitive humans, well, if they're just like us, but they're like us millions of years from now, of course they would want to visit us. It would be so interesting. You imagine if there was a planet where we could go where we could see cavemen?
We go.
Would you imagine?
Fucking Musk
course
would get
we
us in an hour.
Yeah.
But it's
Well, you can see guys making fucking arrowheads with flint for the first time and strapping them to sticks, giant fucking heads and big teeth, covered in hair, just figuring out tools. Oh my God, we would be fascinated by those people.
the way I think about it is, listen, since I'm a kid, we're talking about Martians and aliens, right? Since I'm fucking
Yeah.
6, 7, I've been hearing about this. The moon landing was in '69, so I was 6. So it started after that. Like, I heard more and more about it. So what you mean to tell me is in 55 years we haven't found out more information about it? We know. We know what's going on. We know. NASA's not stupid. They know something's out there. They play with us a little bit from time to time. But there's something out there, my friend.
I think so too.
There's something out there.
I think the other problem with the president knowing, can they keep things from the president? Of course they can. The president is only there for 4 years. And then he has to get in there again. And if he wins, he's only there for 4 more years. These fucking people have 30-year careers, 50-year careers in the intelligence agencies.
They know.
If they know something, and they've known something since, fucking Gerald Ford, why would they tell you? Why do you need to know?
And
We've already been hiding this from the population for so long.
And those old timers didn't need what's that when you have to sign something?
NDA?
NDA, like
Yeah.
NAD, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, there was no
like,
NDAs back then.
There's no NDAs back then.
Yeah.
So there was something to it.
Yeah.
There was something to it. You got that place in New Mexico. You got Hudson County, what we discussed before, with the Martians landing. You have all these places that have a higher volume. I wonder what's number 2 in UFO sightings.
I wonder what's number 1. What's number 1? Is it Hudson Valley?
Yeah,
Yeah?
Hudson Valley by the George Washington Bridge, that whole thing.
That's crazy.
That's
Wonder
number
why
1.
them.
I wonder what number 2, number 3, and number 4 is.
It's interesting that a lot of them are over near where the ocean is, because that's one of the big theories, that they have bases in the ocean. Because the reality of the ocean is no one's looking. If you have something on Earth, satellites can see it. Like if you have something that's in the middle of Nevada in some deserted area and you have buildings, satellites can see that. They can see the structures. So you have to hide them. But if you have something in the ocean, nobody sees anything. We've only explored, what is the percentage of the ocean floor that we have just explored? I think it's like 10%. I think it's somewhere around 10, maybe 20%. So that means that 80% of the ocean floor is undiscovered. We have no idea what's down there. And it's, a mile, 2 miles deep in some spots. If you're from a super sophisticated civilization that's millions of light years away, and you can come here instantaneously, and you have the ability to traverse in these what they call transmedium craft, which means they can go through air, go through water. It creates a gravity bubble around it and go through everything. That's what they think these things are doing. That's what they can go 500 knots underwater, just like nothing we have could do that. And if they have bases under the ocean, it makes sense that these sightings are all near the ocean. It just totally makes sense.
A lot happens in the ocean. That ocean's stronger than what you fucking think.
Yeah.
I love going to a beach and
What
just
is this,
sitting
Jamie?
on the beach
Seabed
watching the ocean.
2030.
Seabed 2030, what they've mapped out.
They've gotten 30% mapped. They're trying to get the whole thing done by 2030.
Oh, really? Oh, interesting. Oh, what if they find a base?
Yeah. So you
What
can
if they
go-
get down there and they find bases? What is all that stuff? What are those lines?
I'm guessing that's where they probably sent their drones. Probably. You know,
Whoa.
Looks like a pool scrubber. You know. it
Whoa,
just kinda goes-
that's crazy.
Shit.
So they're scouring the ocean floor to try to get them. That's why the aliens are going to come out. Wow, that's Hawaii. Whoa.
Oh, that's not Hawaii. Hawaii's over here.
It is?
Yeah.
What's that? What are
probably
those
like
islands in the middle? Oh, is that Catalina?
and shit, yeah.
Oh, I see. Oh, you were zoomed in.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to see
that
what
was
this stuff is.
Oh, I see.
I think these little light colored brown spots are what's sticking up, and the rest is
released. Aliens are real. I'm not 100% convinced. I'm probably like 90% convinced. But if they are real, I leave in the room for bullshit. It's like, Jamie, get a picture of your shirt.
If they're
Show
real.
everybody the shirt you're wearing. Why we're talking about that? It's a UFO. It says, "Can they see it? Believe that." That's shirt. Exactly.
That's a saucer, if I've ever seen one.
I think if they're here, they're not going to let us. That's what I think.
Well, that's what.
I think they're going to swoop in and go, hey.
Well, that's.
Fuck.
I'm 25, right? I can't speak on anything, but just looking from past experience, and there's like drawings, like
Right.
even in the Mona Lisa, there's a weird thing or whatever in the
Yeah, it looks like a
background
flying
and shit.
saucer.
But there's a spike.
Mm-hmm.
It's a spike in like because it's getting pretty weird here.
The spike, they think it's hard to tell because sometimes when people talk about UFOs, a bunch of other people hallucinate or lie. Like there's a lot of that.
Right.
So every time there's a real legit UFO,
Right.
you get a bunch of nut cases who just want to tell crazy shit
Right.
about being taken
And
aboard
I see.
ships.
I mean,
you've seen
I
a
never.
UFO?
Yeah.
What'd you see? What'd it look like?
I was probably 16. I was in upstate New York, and it would just stay there. So let me precursor this. My aunt and uncle were very strict, and we had to go to bed at a very strict deadline, probably 10 p.m. And I was looking out the window with my cousin, and it's just a light that just stays there and then just fucking goes off. I mean, it just, whew, you can't explain it.
Well, you're 17 at the time? 16?
Probably.
How strong is this memory when you're like looking at it, when you're trying to remember it?
Immediate.
Yeah.
But
For
there's
sure.
something there.
For something took off and did something that didn't make sense to you?
And then in Utah, I mean, there's shit happens all the time. I mean, even here in LA, I can't tell you how many times, because I used to live in Tarzana. So there was like a balcony here, and it looked kind of like, it sounds corny, but like a classic like force field. Whenever you think of a force field, and it just kind of goes like this, and it's kind of like a dome in a circular shape. And it just goes like this and goes back in.
Whoa.
In Tarzana. Look down at the fucking city. And I'm like, how did no one else see this?
They might.
But I was there with like fucking 4 other people, and they saw it too.
The thing about unique events is if a unique event happens and it never happens again, it's hard to remember. It's hard to be sure what you saw. It's hard. But if aliens are visiting us, like how often are they doing it? Like unique events would probably be what it would be.
Right.
It'd be like occasionally,
Right.
once every 6 months, someone sees one somewhere. But they're here all the time. They probably just know how to evade detection. I mean, if something can travel here from another planet, it's going to be able to know when they're being watched and when they're not being watched. That's
But
not going to be hard.
That's why you gotta wonder if it's like intentional.
I think there's enough talk about it now that we're probably going to find out what it is in our lifetime. I never would think that before. I think the government withheld information for whatever reason. Maybe they think people are scared. Maybe they think it's a threat to the national security, to have a bunch of people worried that aliens are flying around us all the
Sure.
time. There's nothing we can do about it. Maybe they had a conversation and they thought maybe it'd be better to keep people in the quiet or keep them in the dark so that they don't freak out, because there's nothing we can do about it anyway. If we just tell them that there's aliens that are visiting us all the time,
Right.
that's not going to be good. They're not going to pay attention to taxes and mortgage rates and the stock market. They're going to
they
be
care
like,
about
holy fuck.
uranium and
there's
shit like
aliens.
that.
They're around us all the time.
Yeah.
People are going to freak out. So I think like little drops of like this, the recent one they said, where they
Yeah, what did the Pentagon just say?
Yeah,
literally
they
like two
said
fucking days ago.
they covered crafts that are not from this world, not made on Earth.
Not made on Earth.
Yeah, not made on Earth.
Yeah.
They're basically saying we don't know what the fuck it is, but we didn't make it. That's bananas. And I think that's going to lead to more and more information coming out about it, where we're going to try to get a sense of understanding. Like, how long have they known this? You know, how much of, like, all that Roswell, New Mexico shit was
Right.
true? Like, tell
Right.
us what was going on.
And backtracking, you got to wonder if, like, oh, we've been hiding this the whole time,
Yeah.
or this is the first time for real that we don't know.
This is what I like. I like to think that the people that are in charge at the Pentagon are patriots, and they realize it's probably better, especially when you're dealing with the United States. It's in this kind of turmoil that they're in right now. It's crazy, between racial turmoil and turmoil with the police and turmoil with people protesting in cities and blocking traffic. There's so much crazy turmoil. They'd be like, no one's even going to notice now. Just say it now. Just say, yeah, we got UFOs. Like, everything is so crazy. The news cycle of any crazy story
Right.
like this is only a few days, and then people forget.
Well, or it's just people already know, and it's just normalization. And you think about movies as just normalizing you to the idea that I can't even, like the Canadian, don't quote me on this, but a Canadian, someone in office was like, there's like 7 species of aliens in the U.S. government.
It would be crazy if it was true.
That's,
You know, Tommy Lee Jones and Will
do
Smith
y'all
were
remember
right
that?
all along.
Yeah, check that out. Please fact check that for
Is
me.
he a loony person, though?
I have no idea.
See, people can get elected and still be crazy. That's a problem.
For certain.
That's a problem. You know, just because, like, when you hear about someone having, like, a really high-profile job and they say something crazy, it doesn't mean they're not crazy. Just because they're the prime minister of some
Right.
fucking country, they could be out of their mind.
What do we got? Something close to that. How close? Where is
Canada's
that?
former defense minister claims that aliens are real. Apparently, there's a humanoid-esque race of aliens called the Tall Whites living among us. Huh. It's Adam Curry.
What publication is
Adam
this?
Curry.
Is this Vice?
Adam
There's on
Curry's
Vice,
alien.
there's a few other places.
Well,
There's a few.
he
So
did-
it's like a real deal.
definitely seems like
Come on.
That's crazy shit.
Yeah, that is crazy shit. The thing is that guy nuts? Like, what else does he believe in? You know, how does he feel about ghosts? Right? When you think about like an alien sighting, like if you saw an alien and then you never saw one again for the rest of your life,
Right.
it would fuck with your memory, even if the alien was real. If a saucer
Right.
emerged in front of you and then took off, that's the same thing with a ghost. Like if you saw a fucking ghost, if you walked into your basement to go get a screw for something, and you turned
Right.
and you saw an apparition of a woman
Right.
who's like staring you down. Did
Right.
you ever see that Guillermo del Toro movie about the lady who's a ghost who adopts kids?
No.
Dude, it's a dark movie. What is it called? Mother? What is it called? It's fucking creepy.
Is it?
It's creepy.
Do you like horror movies?
I love them.
Me too.
I love
I'm a
them.
dirty little bitch. I love horror movies.
I think it's called Mama.
Mama, yes, that's it.
Oh,
It's-
is that?
Bro, it's so
that's not
creepy.
with 2 Swedish kids, right?
I don't.
Does she
remember.
have 2
This is it. This
two
is it.
sons?
Did you see this?
No.
She has 2 kids.
No, I haven't seen that.
She's well, I don't want to give it away. I don't want to give the story away, but it's crazy. She finds these kids in the woods and raises them. She's a ghost, and it's a
Sure.
fucking terrifying movie.
She's a ghost. Wait,
yes. And so
is that a
people
spoiler?
adopt the kids. They find the kids. I can't tell you anymore. I can't tell you
Spoiler
anymore.
alert.
I can't tell you anymore. No, you know she's a ghost from the very beginning of the movie.
Okay, good. Yeah, this
I
is
can't-
terrifying.
Dude, it's fucking horrifying. It's a terrifying movie.
Well, you get the best of both, right? You get a creepy, like, mom style, and then you get
Yes.
creepy kids, which
You
are,
get
like,
both. You
double
get a kid.
terrifying.
What
movie
I
I'm
can't say
thinking
anymore
of?
without spoiler alert in it.
I think it might be called, so it's 2 kids. It might be Swedish or, like, Norwegian or something.
Is it the
And-
vampire movie?
No,
There's
but
there's a vampire movie, a foreign vampire movie. Is it Let the One In? I think it is, or is that the American version of it?
Let the Right One In is a scary movie.
That's a scary movie, right?
Yeah.
That's a vampire movie about vampire kids, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, the thing about a ghost is if you saw one and if they're just real every now and then, you saw one and it was right in front of you, you're in the woods,
Right.
you're going to walk your dog and you see some old man with no legs floating in front of you.
That's the one.
Good night, mommy. Is
Yeah.
Oh, good night, mommy. What's this one about?
Same. I don't know.
Same kind of deal? Oh, Jesus Christ.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Save that for later.
Did you see something?
Yeah.
I missed it.
Some scary lady in the corner.
That motherfucker at. That's
Okay.
a good one.
I'm scared.
But you see him in the woods,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, if you saw some apparition in the woods and then you never saw it again for the rest of your life, it doesn't mean it wasn't real.
Right.
It just means it's really rare that happens. Like, that's a thing about a unique event. Like, imagine if you're an ant your whole fucking life.
Right.
All you've ever known is this anthill. Everybody's chilling, working every day, chopping up leaves, going out and getting popcorn or whatever shit it finds. And then one day some person comes along like Post Malone and just stomps the fuck out of that anthill.
Sure.
Till that moment, all that thing has ever known was that anthill. Never even knew that it was possible for something to, because it's been alive for a couple of weeks. And during that couple of weeks, no one's ever stomped on the anthill. But then it happens. And then you realize that there's no pattern to these things. Anything can happen. Like, if you're a person, aliens can land. They
Yeah.
can land on the White House lawn
Yeah.
tomorrow and take over the world. And there's nothing we can do about it. Like, that could be our new normal. Okay, fuck masks. The new normal is there's alien spaceships that hover over every city and they tell you what to do. And you have to work for them now. Forever.
To the ant argument, we're smarter than ants.
Yes, we are. We're, in comparison, probably dumber than aliens are. Like, we're
Oh,
dumber
most-
than ants are to people.
Well, you like all
That's a
these
guess.
celestial sightings. Yeah, I mean, this is all spitballing here.
But it could-
celestial sightings documented throughout history.
Throughout history.
Hey, I just made a fire. This is dope, right? Fire's cool. But what the fuck is that? That has to be
Yeah.
God. Like, man has always looked up for
true.
answers.
It's true.
And so that's why it's a scary thing.
The
Because
idea of-
do they want to hurt us, or did we come from them?
I don't think it's impossible. I don't think it's impossible that we're a product of genetic manipulation. I don't know if we are. I know we're definitely primates.
We're just
So different than every other monkey. All the other monkeys are covered in hair. This is this weird semi-hairless monkey. You know, who knows how to use electronics? Who knows how to send video through the sky?
You know the Aki?
Yes.
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 My if Lou was here, I got a great friend, Lou. Shout out to Lou. He would talk
just
your
talking
ear
to
off
this-
about this whole deal.
About to an actual archaeologist yesterday.
Or the
This is
Nephilim.
Bradley Garrett. Yeah, the Nephilim or the Anunnaki from planet Nibiru, all that Zacharias Hitchens stuff. You ever read those books?
No, sir.
The books are weird, man. You know what's weird? Like, there's stuff that he was saying in, like, I believe it was like the 1970s, where he was deciphering these texts. And one of the things that he said is, this is the craziest one of all. Humans were genetically engineered from lower primates, and they were used to harvest gold. And that the Anunnaki needed gold because gold is very plentiful here,
Right.
and very hard to find, very rare on their planet.
Right.
And they engineered humans to mine. That's why people love gold so much.
Right.
If you think about like the usefulness of gold,
Right.
Gold isn't even remotely. It's unless you're making electronics. Like, gold's not the best metal. Like, why is it so valuable? Because it's
Right.
pretty. Well, it's not even the prettiest shit. Like, rubies are prettier than gold. Emeralds are prettier than gold. Why is gold so goddamn expensive?
But where does this fit in?
Question. Probably just someone tricked a chick into thinking it was good.
I was reading about like, yeah, that's what it's like. One movie, she had a diamond, and then
But what he
popped off.
Let me finish the one because this is where it gets weird. They said that they needed it to hang in their atmosphere to protect them from the sun because they were losing their atmosphere. Well, we're losing our atmosphere. And one of the things that scientists have suggested is hanging reflective particles above the Earth, like putting them in orbit, all like a reflective dust in orbit, so that it would mute out some of the effects of the sun. So what they suggested, what he was saying in 1978 is what they suggested in like 2018.
Right.
So when they're talking about how to fix some of the global warming issues, they were literally saying some of the stuff that was in this book that he was reading. He's deciphering these ancient Sumerian texts from 6,000 years ago.
No shit.
I don't know.
I was about
I don't know
to
if
ask.
his interpretation. He is just a guy who's a linguist who studies these ancient languages
Sure.
and reinterprets them, but it's very highly in dispute. That's the problem. Like you or I, we're not going to figure it out. We're not going to know who's right.
Right.
It's too complicated.
Right.
But there's a website called sitchiniswrong.com, and if you go there, it refutes all of his. I don't know who's right or who's wrong, but it's interesting to see the argument. But again, whatever the fuck was going on back then, 6,000 years ago,
Right.
whatever was going on, they were writing about some wacky shit.
Right,
man.
right.
You know, they were.
And is the
yeah.
shrooms or is that
Is it contact?
real? Yeah.
It is. It's not impossible. We could have easily been contacted by some other life form that's similar to us, but that's a million years advanced. We
Right.
could have been contacted all throughout history.
Right.
Yeah. 1960, whatever the fuck it was, all you would have is a drawing and a story.
Well,
Imagine that.
Famous people. Who the fuck knows? But now, if you look at the last 200 years, it has accelerated like a motherfucker. And there's so much, like, 200 years ago, people would look at the Bronco or anything like that and be like, what the fuck?
Yeah. What is that?
It happened so quick.
It's happening so quick right now. I mean, that SpaceX thing, they've already figured out how to get something to fly into the sky and then bring it back and land it.
It's insane.
Yeah. We're in a weird fucking time. And if the aliens come right now, it's probably the best time to come. We're going to be the most relaxed about it. No one's been able to work for 6 months.
I
Right?
feel like everybody's,
People are scared to shake hands.
what are you going to do?
Everyone's terrified.
Are you going high? Or are you
To the
gonna,
aliens?
Are you going to grab your bow?
Oh, high for sure. I'm not stupid. Could come here for I'm not kicking
instant
anybody's
disintegration.
ass. Yeah, I'm not even interested in kicking someone's ass from another dimension. I just want to say hi. Tell me what's up.
Tell me, actually,
I want to have an podcast. You imagine?
I call
Imagine have
Tyler
some
up.
3 foot tall, 40-pound dude with a giant bulbous head and like antenna-like fingers, and he's explaining how they traverse space
No
and time
shit.
instantaneously.
No.
Can you imagine? They're making sounds, and you interpret those sounds no matter what language you're in all over the world. You instantaneously interpret
Well, it'd
what
be
they're
through
saying.
your brain. You wouldn't be able to hear them.
Yeah, they would do it through a podcast. They'd be sounds they make.
They
And
would
we'd have
do
to
it
realize,
through-
what is this sound, and
through
why do I understand what he's saying?
SM-78s.
They would hit you with some sound that's so complex, you would understand exactly what they're saying,
Yeah.
even though you don't know the language. And everybody would be like, what in the fuck is going on? Oh my God, there's an alien on the JRE. And that's what it would be. Me talking to some alien.
They better give you some more god money.
I think that's the least of our problems when the aliens come. That shit is going to be wiped
Well,
off.
that's what gold.
Yeah, we're going to gold miners again, folks. We're going to look for some sturdy person with a wide back. That's what's going to be
look good.
valuable. Thank you. But I mean, good enough to mine gold? I don't know. You imagine if that's life in the future? They come down, they go, you got 2 choices. One, we eat you. 2, you mine gold for us.
Are they?
Why wouldn't they eat us? They'd be like, listen, you guys are just protein. You're assholes.
They eat clouds
Yeah.
or like energy. They probably just eat energy.
Yeah, maybe they exist in some sort of
Dude, they're probably not
redundant
even fucking material.
Probably.
They're probably just fucking ethereal.
Well, maybe